Hi everyone, it's F. Gardner. Don't worry, I haven't abandoned my YouTube channel just because I have this new show called F. Gardner Uncensored on Rumble now. I'm still going to be making YouTube videos. The other channel, F. Gardner Uncensored, my Rumble channel, that's just for the stuff that I can't post on YouTube. But I'm still going to make videos here. And in fact, this video I'm doing right now, I think this is going to be the most important video, the most profound and important video I've ever done. And yeah, I'm going to upload this to YouTube because that's, I guess, for mass exposure and stuff. So I want to jump right into it. I was talking to some friends tonight about religious stuff, and I mentioned to them these really mysterious, profound experiences I've had, and I think about them to this day. And I also, coincidentally, this YouTuber I watch, Panyo Basa, I gave him a shout out before, and he liked my video, which I appreciate. Yeah, he liked it on Twitter, and he did a video talking about different levels of enlightenment, and it made me think about this more. So yeah, Panyo Basa, if you're watching this, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on what I'm about to say. And anyone in general, doesn't matter if you're Buddhist or if you're not religious or whatever it is, your background, religious, not religious, anything. And I'm not claiming enlightenment or anything like that. Yeah, about what I'm about to say, but it's something that happened to me, and I wonder about it. I think about it often, about what it means, and it's part of what led me to Buddhism. But anyway, I'm gonna jump right into it now. So when I was really young, I don't know if I was 5 years old or 6 years old, something like that. I remember waking up from what I thought was a nightmare, and I was a really little kid. I woke up terrified. I think I might have been screaming. I was into this total state of terror. And so this is way back in the 90s. I'm a little kid, and I woke up, and I had these thoughts of well, none of this is real, or that none of this is really happening. And it happened so long ago, I only remember bits and pieces. It felt like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, some kind of revelation. And then, fast forward to when I'm in my early 20s, I'm in my 30s now, but then, so fast forward from then when I was a kid to I'm in my early 20s, I had the same experience again. When I was a young man in my 20s, I was also in bed and I woke up. I didn't scream, but I guess part of that's because of whatever maturity. I was older, but I woke up from what I thought was a nightmare, but it was still the same kind of thoughts, well, this isn't real. Everything I think is going on right now, it's not really even happening. It's as if your whole life, all of a sudden, you were to wake up and you realize that it didn't happen, that this isn't reality. So I woke up from a dream, or what I thought was a dream or nightmare, and it was like a sudden realization of that wait, this is all fiction. It's a delusion, a lie, a fantasy, however you want to phrase that. And it seemed true, and I wasn't able to shake it. And then in my later 20s, I had an experience like that, and it was like I wasn't, but this one was a bit different in the sense that it wasn't when I woke up or was a state of like where I was sleeping and then waking up, like the two previous experiences. This was, it was just like the middle of the day, and I was thinking about, this is before I became Buddhist, but big reason why I became Buddhist. But it was just the middle of the day, and I was thinking about religious stuff. I used to be Catholic, and I was just thinking about whatever, life, reality, how everything came into being on Earth, and then all of a sudden, it was like something clicked in my brain, in my head. It was like, oh, wait a minute. The Earth was never created, or like life was never created. Like, this isn't even happening. I'm not real. No one is real. And I'm looking at everything, and it was like, I want to say like a screen, like a movie screen or a projection, and I want to say like the word empty. Maybe that's because I'm Buddhist now and the word emptiness is used a lot, but that's what it felt like, and it was shocking. It was like realizing everything's the same, that it's not real, not even happening, that it's an illusion, that I only think it's happening, that I'm not even here, that no one is here, that none of us exist, that we're all like figments, that there's just like, I don't know, imagination, again, for lack of another term, or lack of a better term. And then it was like I stopped thinking. And it was terrifying, honestly. And I don't know. Part of what makes me think, was it terrifying because I wasn't Buddhist yet, and I wonder if I like if the same thing were to happen now, maybe it wouldn't be terrifying. Maybe it would be insight toward like enlightenment. And again, I'm not claiming I'm enlightened or anything, whatever, profound or like that, but yeah. And I watched that video. I mentioned this other YouTuber, Panyo Basa. He's a former Buddhist monk, and he was talking about different levels of enlightenment and how other religions talk similarly. They might not use enlightenment, but like Christian mysticism, which I was familiar with because I used to be a Catholic seminarian, and I used to be a religion teacher at a Catholic school, so I had some familiarity with like, yeah, the terms he's talking about. I've even talked to people about that before, people that I know, that like, yeah, I see parallels with like, even though I eventually became Buddhist, I'm Buddhist now and everything, if you get into Catholic, not just Catholic, but mysticism, like Sufism, whatever, Advaita Vedanta, like the other religions, they get into non-duality, kind of. Even though the term non-duality isn't so much used in Abrahamic stuff, it begins to sound very, very similar. And like, let's see, yeah, like the Carmelites, like that order, like when you get into like monasticism and stuff, like Saint John of the Cross, how he would talk about contemplation. So like that, and reaching a state of being perfection, and the cloud, like the book, The Cloud of Unknowing, that where it's like a guide how to do that, and it sounds like Buddhist emptiness. Like it'll talk about like nothingness being a trait of God, and that you go through these different levels, and that sounds like Buddhist jhana levels, and yeah, same with like nothingness. Like that begins to sound like they're talking like Buddhist emptiness, especially like the whole idea of being a monk, like entering a monastery, being celibate, embracing poverty, not owning things, like not having possessions. It all makes the most sense in the context for like reaching the right conditions, the right criteria to reach the conditions that bring you to nirvana, or to enlightenment. So it's like these other religions, yeah, I kind of think that they got it from Buddhism. I think Panayobasa said he thinks that St. John of the Cross kind of independently came to the same conclusion. Yeah, it's hard to know, because I know like the rule of St. Benedict was said to have come from already existing masters. So masters, that makes it sound like could be Buddhist monks, and I've heard it speculated that it could have came from the East. And yeah, I find this stuff fascinating. Like Sufism, the mystical branch of Islam, they talk about it very similarly, like how it begins to sound like Buddhism, or very Upanishadic, like Advaita Vedanta type stuff, like the Sufism, they talk about how like only God exists, that it's kind of like, I guess, God imagining us, and that sounds more like Brahman and Hinduism than the Abrahamic way it's defined. But then again, so does like the cloud of unknowing, the stuff St. John of the Cross talked about, St. Teresa of Avila, Carmelite stuff, monasticism, contemplation, Christian mysticism. It all begins to sound very, very Buddhist. And this is like by the book, like Christian, like Orthodox. I don't mean East Orthodox, but this stuff is like by the book, like part of the dogma or doctrine, like fundamentalist meditation, at least within like Catholicism. And I know Eastern Orthodoxy has their own kind of versions of that, but that's Protestant Reformation, basically. Just, I don't mean this as an insult to Protestants or anything. I'm Buddhist. I don't really care what people's religions are. I respect whatever people believe. But yeah, the Protestant Reformation, they absolutely just did away with all the mystical, like that stuff, the mysticism and meditation. They did because it was meant for like priests and monks and nuns, and they just kind of, I don't want to say gutted, that sounds bad, but I guess it's kind of true, gutted it out. So you don't really see that in Protestantism, but you do if you get into the super fundamentalist, like hardcore Catholic stuff and Eastern Orthodox stuff, and also in Sufism. And it begins to sound similar. Well, I guess the one Protestant branch, I guess, would be Christian Science, because that, I think, had like some sort of like Eastern influence. Like it's kind of like the Upanishadic idea of God, but with instead of accepting the authority of the Vedas, it accepts the authority of the Bible. So that would be, I guess, the distinction, where it's like everything is God, or only God exists, that this is all an illusion, but it accepts the Bible instead of the Hindu Vedas and stuff like that. But yeah, it sounds very Upanishadic and Hindu, or even Buddhist or Taoist, just Eastern. It begins to sound Eastern in that sense. Like, so yeah, you encounter this. Yeah, if you get into mysticism, all sorts of religions, and I think about these experiences I've had. I've had it more than once, but those are the three main times I could think of. Once when I was a very young boy, and then when I was in my early 20s, and then my late 20s. And every time it happened, it seemed like it was the same. It was the same experience. I don't really have doubt about that if it was some sort of insight or whatever you want to call it, that it was the same thing, the same sort of realization, whether you want to say nothingness or emptiness, just, or high, ultimate truth, ultimate whatever. And I'm not claiming to be enlightened or even that I've reached a level of enlightenment, but I don't know what I think about this every day. Not a day goes by that I don't think about it, because like when that happened, or when these times happen, these times, like it felt like something like irreversible happened from the experience, that it was the same experience these three times. So like the last time it happened, it felt like it irreversibly changed my perspective. Like something happened, something irreversible in my brain or my mind, whatever, happened where I knew for a fact this is not reality. I'm not real. No one is real. Like if I look at someone, it's like if you're in a dream and you see a dream character, they're not real. They're fictional. But the same thing even applies to myself on a fundamental level. Like I'm not really here. It's just like an illusion, a projection, hologram, fantasy, figment, whatever. It's like words don't really even fully describe this sort of revelation or whatever. Yeah, but it's like it irreversibly changed my perspective, and that's something that you hear too about these mystical experiences, that it's like if someone's enlightened, it's permanent, or if someone has insight, there's like no turning back. If it's whatever, they reach a high enough level of it, high enough degree of it, and yeah, and like I forget if it was, yeah, I think it was Saint John of the Cross, where he said like, enter into unknowing, where it's like that wise men, if they try to refute what you say, that they'll never be able to, something like that. That it's like once you reach this realization level, that it doesn't matter what anyone tells you, you're gonna know they're wrong, and that you are right about this. And that sounds, honestly, it sounds exactly what I'm trying to describe. But I'm not claiming to have reached a level of enlightenment or anything like that. I don't know. What I do know is it irreversibly changed my perspective, and I know that this isn't reality. That it's all fake. This earth, myself, everyone, that there's no such thing as a human being. Humans don't exist. Animals, we're all like dream characters, or that this is some sort of matrix, again, these are conventional words I'm using. I don't necessarily mean matrix as in a computer simulation, because a computer simulation, that's like a human invention, but it's a good comparison. It's an easy way. And if you say the Matrix, everybody understands what you're talking about. Everybody's seen that movie. Or the Truman Show, in the sense that it's not what it seems. But even crazier than that, or more profound than that, this isn't going on, and that nothing is different. That was another part of it. I should have mentioned that before. That this is all the same. That things are, like, you hear things being interconnected within mysticism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, like that the Tao never really separated from, or the yin and the yang never truly separated from the Tao. Or Hindus will say like it's all Brahman. And Taoism, it's all the Tao, or Nirvana, it's all empty. Or samsara is nirvana, to use a Mahayana term. And it all begins to sound very similar. And even within the Abrahamic mysticism, it begins to sound very Eastern. So that's part of, at least for myself, but I'm not the only one that I'm aware this has happened to, in the sense that, so for example, I started off Catholic and I became Buddhist. You go down that rabbit hole, you really dig deep, and you try not to be biased. It begins to be, what you uncover, what you discover, you're going to realize that the truth is closer to what they've said in the East. That's upsetting for people to hear. I don't want to upset people if they're happy being Christian or Muslim or whatever. I'm not trying to shake their faith, challenge their faith, convert them, or no. I'm kind of indifferent to, or at least like a live and let live guy. I've said that before. Like, I let people believe what they like. If they're comfortable with whatever, fine. I respect them still. But speaking from my own experience, yeah, you really want to know the truth. You really get into this stuff, the mysticism and everything. And I'm not claiming to be a master or enlightened or whatever, or have it all figured out about this stuff. No, I'm trying to figure it out. And what I'm describing, these are my personal experiences, which I can't fully explain and I think about often, but I know this isn't reality, that life is more like a dream or delusion or matrix-like state. However you want to describe that. It's like words, they can't fully describe it. And that's also what all these religions and traditions and ancient schools of mysticism all sort of conclude, that you can't fully use words. Like the idea of like Satori and like Zen Buddhism is used a lot. Kensho, like sudden realizations, different levels of it. And like Theravada uses like stream entry for like the different, whatever, you enter the stream of enlightenment, nirvana, and yeah, it all sounds so similar to me. It makes me think, yeah, are they trying to describe the same thing? And man, yeah, it's deep stuff. And I'm not claiming to be enlightened. I'm not claiming to have it all figured out. But if Gardner does truly feel like he's getting warmer, he's getting closer at figuring it out. Like, the more I think about this, that this isn't reality. I can say that with conviction. I don't have any doubt about that. At least I could say the words. Maybe, I guess someone could argue that, well, if you do that for sure, like if you were truly convicted, you would be enlightened. Well, okay, I guess, but, I do believe that. I do believe that this isn't reality. And I'm trying to figure out, what am I missing? What's the final piece of the puzzle, or what other pieces of the puzzle am I missing here? Because it feels like I'm getting closer. Because I don't know. I've got some pieces to the puzzle, and I know that this is not reality, that this is fake. It'd be like, okay, all of a sudden you look at everything and you realize it's all like a hologram, or not even that. It's all connected, or one thing, or not even one thing, because saying one thing, it implies there's a thing to exist. But what I'm trying to describe, it was like the realization that it's nothingness or emptiness, or an illusion. Like that the state of, if there's actually nothing, would be like an illusion of something. I'm trying really hard to put this into words, and maybe that's impossible to put into words, at least exactly. But yeah, it was like, this is all nothing, this is all fake, this isn't even happening. But thinking it's happening keeps you from snapping out of the illusion. And yet, but that we've been wrong about what nothing is, that nothing, instead of just being a void, it's like an illusion of something. But it only seems like an illusion if you think it's real, that if you realize it's not real, and I guess stop thinking and I stop identifying with it, then you do enter the void or emptiness, nothingness, whatever you want to label that as, whatever you want to call that. Yeah, that it's like that. The fact that you're, I guess, clinging and identifying with the illusion keeps you here. Well, that definitely sounds very Buddhist, or at least very Eastern. And it was like I was looking at every little thing and realizing that none of this is going on. Well, sorry if I'm repeating myself here. It's because I'm trying really hard to put this into words. It was the most profound thing that's ever happened to me, and maybe that sounds strange because it's happened to me multiple times, but it's the same thing that's happened to me multiple times, and every time it happens, it's shocking, and that's one of the main reasons why I became Buddhist, because it irreversibly changed my perspective. I knew it to be true. I don't have any doubt. It was irrefutable, absolutely irrefutable, and it totally irreversibly changed my perspective on life. And I think about this every day, about what that was, the implications are. I think the implication is that what the Buddha said was true. But it does sound similar to when different religions talk about it, this type of phenomenon, or whatever you want to call it. And, I guess that's it. I don't want to repeat myself over and over. Again, if I'm repeating myself, it's because I'm trying to clarify exactly what this was like. And again, that might just be impossible to summarize completely on a YouTube video, but I'm trying really hard. I'm trying really hard because it's important. And it's something that sounds crazy to almost 100% of people, I guess, because if you tell them that this isn't real, that the world never existed, they would laugh or think you're nuts, I guess. But, well, it's the truth. I guess that's the end of this video for now, and yeah, hopefully people like this video. Yeah, it's a matter I think about every single day, like what was that? And what are the implications and everything? Anyway, yeah, so like I said, don't worry, F. Gardner hasn't abandoned making YouTube videos. But yeah, I do have this new show, F. Gardner Uncensored, on Rumble. So if you enjoy my YouTube channel, definitely check that out. I don't know, maybe I'll put this on Rumble too. I'm not sure how that works, because I think the videos I have on there are like Rumble exclusive or something. I don't know, I would need to look into how that works, but YouTube makes the most sense for this because it's a topic I could talk about on YouTube. And yeah, and I want this to get super mass exposure and everything. Yeah, comment down below, I guess, if you have, I don't know, like, what do you think this was? These experiences I'm describing, because the first two times you could say, you could maybe say, well, F. Gardner, you were obviously dreaming or is a nightmare. But the third time I'm describing this, I was wide awake. It was the middle of the day. And it was the same thing. So, yeah, so it couldn't have been a dream or nightmare if the third time I was awake, the middle of the day. And I was stone sober. I wasn't high or drunk or anything. So, anyway, leave a comment down below and let F. Gardner know what you think this was. Whether you're religious or not, I'd be very interested to hear. And especially from you, Panyo Basa, if you're watching this. I really like your videos. I've been a fan of you for a long time. And watching your video, your recent Q&A kind of inspired me to talk about this, my experiences with this. In addition to, yeah, the conversation I was having with my friends about religion, it made me think, I should tell people about this. Because it's like, I usually just talk about this, I don't know, like people in real life that I'm hanging out with. I pretty openly talk about whatever I want, but I don't know, this subject, it kind of just usually comes up when I'm just talking to people in person more often. But I thought, well, I already talk about everything else on my mind and whatever things I believe in, even if it's conspiracy theory related, I talk about those online. So I should talk about this. It's like, I guess, definitely the most profound thing that's happened to me. So yeah, hopefully a lot of people like this. And yeah, let me know what you think about this, what it was, if whatever your thoughts are. Like, don't worry, I'm not going to be offended if you think it was just a hallucination or whatever. But I guess that's kind of my point. I think this whole life is an hallucination, for lack of a better term. So I suppose that concludes tonight's episode. Hope everybody enjoyed this. So please like and subscribe and comment down below or whatever you want. And I will catch everybody later. Peace out.